20 years ago and won a title with Pepperdine. Just how has your career changed since then? How has the game changed since then? And how much were you looking forward to getting back and playing for a title?
You're always looking to get back. And, you know, by the grace of God, I've been back 4 other times, 3 other times other than the 92 experience, twice at Florida and once other 204 with my Arizona club to this particular weekend. No, in fact, I was back when I rolled in. I remember we had Fullerton, and we had 3 wins and no losses, and they had a loss. And I remember waking up that morning going, hey, wait a minute. If they win today, I'll have a loss, and they'll have a loss, but they'll have a championship. So do we play another one in Iowa somewhere, or what do we, you know? But I like this format. I really do. I think this is a good format. It kind of sets you up for a 3-game series, and you get a chance to go out and play. How have things changed for me personally? My kids are older. Back then they were, little guys hanging around my ankles, and now I'm the ATM for my daughters, and my sons are in my program, and I can't get them to shave. So things have changed quite a bit for me, but it's still an unbelievable moment. It's not your identity. I know Ray and I are good friends, and we talk about things like this. It should never be your identity. It's a great moment. It's an unbelievable moment, a sense of accomplishment. Ray's accomplished it twice now, and I have had by the grace of God, I've accomplished it once. But life continues. It's a phenomenal moment, and you want to capture it because you work hard to capture the moment. But it never becomes your identity. What I know of Ray Tanner is a quality human being who's a real good baseball coach, but when it's all said and done, you want to be known as a quality human being. And
where's the Pac-12 now compared to the SEC as you remember it?
Different world now, and you're talking about a kid from L.A. Well, not a kid anymore, an old man from L.A. I guess. But I grew up in Los Angeles, so I remember. I've said this numerous times, so please forgive me if I'm wearing myself out here. But in '92, we got back from Omaha, and there were 20 people at the airport, and 15 were my relatives. I mean, it was just you're there, and I think we were in the paper like for a little blurb for one day because the Lakers, the Dodgers, the Angels, movie stars, the water, the ocean, the mountains, and traffic, smog, on and on and on and on. And then I took this job in Gainesville, Florida, and I remember, I never forget this, I remember going to a restaurant the first day with my wife and kids, and people were asking for autographs. And then I remember I had a TV show and a radio show, and I was like, my God, where did I go? What am I doing here? I mean, there's nothing like a Friday night in the SEC. In baseball, there's nothing like it, and I'm saying that as a Pac-12 rat, a Pac-10, Pac-6, Pac-8 rat. I played at UCLA. The SEC on a Friday night is electric. I mean, there's Starkville, Baton Rouge, Columbia, Gainesville, you name it. The Friday night in the SEC is pretty special. In terms of baseball, when you get all of it away from it, in my time when I got here 10 years ago. Oregon did not exist. Oregon State was trying to get to a regional. They hadn't been to a regional in 13 years. Washington wasn't very good. UCLA was not very good, and that's my alma mater, but they were not very good. Washington State was not very good. It just, it was down. I mean, there were 3 or 4 teams in that conference where you literally went into the weekend saying, if we don't win 2, we should all close up shop. And we should win 3. That doesn't happen anymore in the Pac-12, which is a good thing. It's going to be good for the conference. I never felt that in the SEC, to be real honest with you. The SEC was ready to remember this. Remember that one time in Birmingham, I said, what an exciting place.
And dangerous.
And dangerous. I walked in the SEC conference, the coach's meeting one day, and I said, fellas, what an exciting place to coach. Man, what a dangerous place to be. It's a tough place to coach. It really is. That's why I have the utmost respect for Ray, man. It's a really an electric place. College towns, you go into those small college towns and you just, man, the people are just, I'll end on this. In the Pac, sometimes the teams are real vocal, and we have a tendency to be this way too. I'm not gonna lie to you, Ray, so hang with me. Our guys are pretty vocal because you're playing at certain venues and there's 500 people, there's 1,000 people max. In the Southeastern Conference, the clubs don't really say much to each other. I don't know if it's changed, Ray, but when I was there, the clubs athletes, they don't really say much to each other because there's enough going on in the fans. It's a different environment. It's a different environment. If you take it all away and put them in a field somewhere, good baseball in the Pac, good baseball in the SEC, good athletes. For every Will Clark and his guys that have come out and are in the big leagues now, then you got the Tin Lincecums and all the rest that have come out of the Pac-2. Real good baseball. Different culture, but unbelievably good baseball.
South Carolina's been here 3 times. They know the deal. If that's an advantage, how do you make sure it's not too big of an advantage Sunday when you guys get out there the first time?
The thing about the situation, and we've been here and we've had some good fortune here, I don't think it's an advantage for us. I hate to try to give you coach speak, but we're probably the underdog. We've been through the losers bracket. We've played a couple of extra games, and these guys are scoring 10 or 12 runs a game. They're just an offensive juggernaut. So we've got our work cut out for us. And, I think Robert and Alex said it best. This is about 2 teams just trying to play baseball, having a good time and doing the best you can. And I think both clubs respect the game, respect each other, and that's what it's going to be about. That maybe they have the advantage because of their offensive prowess, and so we'll see. We'll see if we can step up on the mound and keep things interesting.
This is my 36th year as a head coach. 5 at the high school level and 30 at the college level. And I've been really fortunate. I started at high school level and then went to Division II and then Pepperdine and then Florida and now here. And so the old saying, an old dog can't learn new tricks. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Just take a picture of me. I've just really believed that you get your guys ready to play good baseball. Every day at practice, I literally make my pitchers describe to me what good baseball is in terms of the definition of it. I literally make our hitters describe what good baseball is in terms of the definition of a good at bat. I literally make the position guys describe to me what good baseball is in terms of communicating on defense, not being selfish and keeping your mouth quiet, but communicating on defense. And then I basically tell them 2 things. We do a lot of this, but I tell them 2 things. Practices belong to me, games belong to you. I mean, Ray and I, we're not going to play. If we do, it's going to be a nightmare, right? I mean, we're not going to play. I mean, these young guys are going to go out and hopefully execute good baseball. And if they do that, then it's a strange game. You're on offense, you don't have the ball. It's a round object against a round object. If you play good baseball, you usually end up with pretty good results. So I mean, that's all we'll continue to talk about. It's what we've talked about since the day they've gotten here, and it's easy for me because I don't have to remember it because I say it so often. But just go out and play good baseball, and things will work itself out.
Adam and Michael, as your team leaders, how much has that helped kind of get you guys through this season and deal with any of the historical significance of this season?
Well, I think it's huge. I've said before, as we became a better club during the season, especially the second half, I gave all the credit to the veteran players. I've tried to change over the years. I'm sort of an old school coach, and I've tried to adjust to a different society or mentality of student athletes. But, dating back, I was sort of old school, and I was kind of tough and no nonsense and no laughs and smiles and those kind of things. And over the years, I've tried to make adjustments and let the guys have a good time as long as they play hard and respect the game. And from day one, Michael Roth has been exactly what you see. And when he tells you he's not a baseball fan, I doubt he's watched any baseball since he's been here, except the games that we've been involved in. That's just who he is. And Adam was a lot more serious as a freshman, but he became roommates with Michael, so it took him a while, but Michael got the best of him. He listened to Michael instead of me, so he made the adjustment. But those guys, they have a good time. I saw a picture one night, we were on the road somewhere, and we do curfew, and one of my coaches came back and he said, I don't know if I should tell you this, but Michael and Adam were in the bathtub together when I checked the room. And I said, no, I wish you hadn't told me that. And of course, they just did it just because they'd get some attention out of the thing. That's the way Michael is. He just has a good time. I mean, the young man is an absolute genius academically. He's he's a strong Christian. He works extremely hard. He's a good player. A couple of days ago, the Peters family, who we're friends with here in Omaha, they have, as you may know, they have 9 children, and one of the younger daughters, May, is tight with Michael. And my daughter, who's 6, told me that May has a date with Michael Roth at the yogurt store. And I said, what? She said, May has a date. They're having yogurt together. And lo and behold, I said, I got to research this. And I wanted to make sure that May's mom was going to be in attendance. But, I mean, that's how he is and who he is. And these guys have been a great influence on the younger players, because I think I probably set the younger guys back in the beginning. I think there's a initiation that you have to go through as a young player. I got to teach them the game in the fall. And I tell them that don't get upset with my coaching style. Just understand that I care about you, you're important to me, but I'm going to try to make some points in the fall. And so I think I set them back a little bit. You're talking about recruited student athletes that feel pretty good about themselves. They get yelled at a little bit. Their mistakes get emphasized, and so they take 2 steps back, 1 step forward. But having these guys around, you're going to be fine. You're going through this. This is a process. It'll pay dividends for you. Just keep hanging in there. And then you get to the season, like Coach Lopez said, that's it's your time now. Go play, and I'll be a cheerleader the best I can. The hardest thing for young players is handling the adversity, the respecting the game, the bad at-bats, the bad pitches, the bad defensive plays, letting it go quick enough. That's the hardest thing for maybe any baseball player, but especially a young player. And these guys up here are great at that. They've learned to let it go and try to, go forward. You got eyes in the front of your head, not behind you. So they've done a great job helping our young guys. For a long time, I coached, and I would never come to Omaha. I didn't want to be in attendance unless I came with the team. And I guess the first time it happened was back in '02. And Coach Lopez has been a great coach from day one. This is his 3rd different program to the College World Series. And, I've learned so much from him with his days in the SEC at Florida. As he said, we sometimes get wrapped up in our professions, as you do. And every opportunity I had to chat with him, he's a guy that can put it in perspective for you. We're trying to do the best we can, but it is still a game. And these are amateur athletes, and we're doing the best we can. And that's really what it's all about. I think this whole stage is wonderful. Omaha is a very special place for all of us. And but at the end of the day, you try to do things for the right reasons and play the game, respect it, make it a good experience. And regardless of what happens in our series, I think this is the right way. You heard his players talk and how classy they are and how his program is, and I think it's great. We're going to have 2 really good teams going at each other, and I know somebody's going to lose, but it'll be a great series.
They're okay. They're ready to go. I mean, Kurt's like, it's ironic, talking about Michael. Kurt Heyer is an impersonator, our starting pitcher. He does a marvelous job of our athletic director, Greg Byrne. I mean, just classic. And does a pretty good job of me, too. He keeps me on my edge, too. And does it on every road trip, gets the microphone on the bus and entertains the club when we land in any town. So it's kind of unique hearing about Michael. And obviously very competitive, like Michael is just, 2 really good college pitchers that like to compete, and marquee guys, your Friday night guys. But yeah, we've scaled back. We did. We've, shut down the amount of pitches they throw in their pins in between. It's just, you do what you have to do. Ray's done a marvelous job. I've seen him grow in that program at South Carolina. When I remember my first year in the SEC, we went down there, and it was a nice facility, but now it's, as I joke with him, why go to Birmingham? Just play the SEC tournament at Columbia. It's a great facility. But you do what you have to do, and we've had to do that this year. I mean, we've had to, our pin, to nobody's fault. I mean, to nobody's fault. I'll take full responsibility for it. Our pin hasn't been as strong and as spectacular as I would like for it to be. I joked with somebody earlier, in 2008, I thought I had a club that could come here and win a national title. But we went on the road to Michigan as a 1 seed, then they flew us home to Tucson, and then flew us across country to Miami, and we got beat on Sunday in the Super Regional Championship game 2-1. We had 2 first-round pitchers in the 6th and 7th, 8th innings. So, back then I used to tell our stars, just get 5 and then grab a towel, some Gatorade, and wave it for the next 4 innings, because these guys are coming in, and we didn't lose. I mean, we didn't lose a game that year from the 6th inning on. Now, as I told our starters about 5 weeks into the season, I'll come out and talk to you, but I'm just going to ask you what the weather's like on the mound, and I'll tell you what it's like in the dugout, because I'm going back in, and when it's 120, 25, 30 pitches, then I'll come out and we'll make a pitching change. But, We've had to make a small adjustment on the amount of pitches they've thrown midweek, but they're fine. They're ready to go. Adrenaline is key now. I mean, you know, you can ask any college pitcher in America, would you throw on 2 days rest if you had a chance to throw for a national title? And I don't think there'd be one guy that would look at you and say, yeah, I'll go on 1 day if I have to. You know, they're ready to go.